maybe using all the hotels in the country for direct provision for refugees, for asylum seekers that are coming from safe countries, particularly Georgia, Albania, other countries too. Many of them are coming from safe countries. Many of them are young men who are turning up here. Half of them don't have documents, etc., etc. We have the answer to using up all the hotel rooms in some towns in Ireland, and this is the truth. Some towns in Ireland, some of all the hotels nearly in the whole towns are used up. Take for example Killarney in County Kerry is a great example. A big enough town, but it relies heavily because the Ring in Kerry, etc., etc., down in Kerry, it relies heavily on tourists that come down to Kerry and visit Kerry. And the majority, I think they said nearly 60% of the tourist accommodation, like Airbnbs, and bed and breakfasts and hotels, of course, too, are used for direct provision because, again, the government are giving huge amount of monies to the people over them, the people who run these hotels, the people who run these guest houses, to house Ukrainians and to house other people. And the tourist section's dying. And obviously what that means, too, just to say before I go any further, which it's the same with the housing. The demand, if the demand's there, the prices go up. Simple as that. If there's no demand, the prices will stay reasonable. But if there's demand, especially the prices will go up. And take for example, you wouldn't get a hotel room probably in Dublin at the moment. Speaking of Dublin for a second, if you were one person, you wouldn't get a hotel room for less than €100, less than 150. You'd be paying more than that. I was in Dublin there in January. It was about 160 or so a night, I think, something like that, and that was in January, just after Christmas, very slow time of year. But it's very shocking, and nobody, we all seen this coming. Everybody said about it, but it's very shocking because again, if the trend keeps going this way, the Irish tourist industry is gone, and again, we have ourselves to blame because the Irish government, again, it's all greed too. In the majority of these people who speak hotels, etc., because they took the money from the government instead of taking from tourists that want to visit our country. They took the money from the government because again, it's easy money to be given to the government because it's just unlimited checks. No such thing as no. We don't have the money for you. Just unlimited checks, just being fired at them every day of the week. Billions being made, trillions being made by these people. People becoming very rich for housing refugees, etc., etc. And as we see, this is the CSO, etc. This is just February gone by. It might have been a bit more in March. Obviously, Patrick's Day probably still that would be time, and obviously we won't know the full extent until after the summer's finished. The majority of people come, but particularly in February, you can see it's very worrying that it was nearly half, 30%, near enough you could say half, but compared to last February, in 2024. Nearly 500,000 people, which is a lot of people. It's a lot of people. Nearly 500,000 people, 433,000 people, and now this year was only 300,000. So you can see the drop, and it's still because, as I said, the prices went up. You can't visit Ireland now without having a good few bob behind you. Now I don't know exactly. It's probably the average would be probably about 1,000 or 2,000 if you're coming to Ireland for about 5 days or something, depending if you shopped around, I suppose you would. But an average, I say that probably is. I don't think there's an average for that. The average there was about 5, but yeah, which is what I said, around 5 nights people usually come here. Because again, it's an expensive country, Ireland is an expensive country the best of times. But particularly when there's demand for hotels and there's a lack of hotels, they can do that. They can put up the prices sky high. And again, especially when there's a lack of them. And obviously, if there's loads of people come and take, for example, to Tralee, say there's for example, there's some festival up in for example, and there's a big, huge increase of people going to Kerry and want to stay over in Kerry and Tralee. Just losing Tralee is a perfect example. Sligo's the same. It's the same with student accommodation. Sligo, take for example, across the country too. It's the same everywhere. And we do need to stop this, to be totally honest, housing refugees, etc., in hotels, because our tourist industry will collapse if we keep going the way it's going. Because at the moment in time, and it was said by one tourist provider too, like one person who owned a hotel, they're better off with the refugees because they're making more money than they ever did. And it's all to do with greed, really, because it's all money they're talking about. But that's what's happened. they're too busy worrying about the money they're getting from the government. They don't want to stop, and they don't want the gravy train to end and has to end. But yeah, let me know what you think. It is very worrying because again, tourism in Ireland employs a lot of people. I think it was said around 100,000 or a bit more, 120,000, something like that, in the tourism, like in hotels and in that kind of tourist section, attractions, etc., for tourists. It's around 120,000 or something like that people employed in that in Ireland, and obviously it's very worrying, particularly when we see this happening, particularly in rural Ireland, whatever but the cities. There'll always be people going to the cities, but particularly in rural Ireland, it will hit them hard. And Kerry, it's another example too. And it's not the hotel people would hit hard. It's the restaurants, it's the shops, the local tourist place for people to go to. That's what it's going to hit. It's not going to hit anybody else. But then it's going to hit the community too. And as I said to you before, we want people to come to Ireland. Ireland's a great country. It's not a safe country at the moment, unfortunately. But it's a good country and there's a lot of historical landscape and we could go on for hours. Ireland has loads of history and loads of culture. Particularly in rural Ireland, Dublin nowadays. There's not much country there left. But yes, but it's a nice country. We have the Irish people, very decent people and down to earth. They're not troublemakers and stuff. Majority of us hopefully are anyway. But yes, it's insane to see this, but again it was predicted, but it is worrying. It is very, very worrying. Hey, let me know what you think. Subscribe more and bye.